Cece, how should we feel about the Jaguars after this game?
Oh man, this was awful.
Okay, you're tweeting with some of the funnier tweets. I actually followed.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, this film is not going to the Hall of Fame from an offensive standpoint.
You think?
This film is not going to a kids clinic to teach kids how to play the quarterback position, because both these quarterbacks were awful. And I felt bad for the coaches, because I played with some bad quarterbacks. And I knew we had all these nice plays to call. But we took all those good plays back home, because you can't hide your quarterback in the regular season, and you definitely cannot hide him in the postseason.
As much as they tried.
The play, it was just awful. Like, they have no confidence in Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles was scared. This is one of the few times I have seen a starting NFL quarterback, when they called a pass play, that he was apprehensive. And it was basically perfect throwing. Well, now, they talk about the wind was blowing a little bit. It's Florida.
Man,
okay?
Listen.
The wind's blowing everywhere.
You've taught me enough about the weather that the announcers kept, and I'm not knocking the announcers, but they kept bringing up the wind. And you could see the flags. And as Jenna taught me last week, sometimes you can see wind when there's a flag involved. And the flags weren't, like, gusting. So I went on the weather app and looked at Jacksonville, Florida. Hand to God, it said 1 mile an hour southeast wind. Now, maybe in the stadium, it was worse than that.
In the booth, it was drafty.
Maybe the oohs and the ahs from the crowd.
Like our studio.
Every time someone dropped back, they were like, ah! Like, maybe that caused the wind. I don't know. So, obviously, both quarterbacks were terrible. But, Cece, another thing you've taught me is let's try to be positive about things. So, I do want to talk about, in this game, you're going to say what could have been positive.
Thank you. Help us.
Okay. The story going into this game was, A, will LaShawn McCoy play? And he did. And he was the Bills' best offensive player.
Yes.
Coming back from that injury, it's a hell of a job by him. But the other story...
Wasn't he the best player on the field?
He was the best offensive player on the field, no question about it. But the other story was the Jags have a borderline historic defense. Certainly in the last 5 to 10 years, one of the better overall defenses we've seen. And I don't care that you're going against Tyrod Taylor. You're going up against an NFL team that made the playoffs. And the way they totally and thoroughly shut them down, that Jags defense had an A-plus performance. Now, I understand the competition matters. I understand all those things. But this wasn't bad conditions. It was perfect weather for offensive football, and the Jags defense destroyed them. If the Jags offense had played better, we would be giving the defense more credit. If the Jags had won 24-3, we'd say, oh, okay, the offense played well and the defense was awesome. And late in the game, defense forced a turnover to win the football game. That may or may not have been a catch, but whatever. So I do want to give the Jags defense. That's been their calling card all year. They were excellent yesterday.
Was this one of those, Cece, was this like an old school gritty battle of defenses, or was this just a terrible game?
Jenna, we could do that and we could put a dress on the pig, but it's still a pig.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Okay? This game was ugly. Now, we can't make it up. Like, it was so bad. Now, Shady McCoy, what an effort by him. Didn't think he would play in the game. Truly outstanding. But how could Jacksonville, with Blake Bortles, and I got to give a lot of credit to Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone, like, they turned this organization around, because typically bad organizations cannot even win a game when they try to hide their quarterback. But I don't see how they advance. I don't think their defense is legendary after watching Buffalo make some of the plays on them with their lack of wide receivers. And Shady McCoy, they had their hands full with Shady McCoy. So for me, this is the Jags defense that played better the first 12 games of the season.
That's fair.
They have been bleeding leaking oil since the last 4 weeks of the season and into the playoffs.
I was surprised, one last note on this, and then we'll never speak of this game again. I was surprised that the Bills were running the ball. They ran the ball 32 times for 130 yards. That's over 4 yards a carry. Surprised me they had Tyrod Taylor drop back to pass. Well, he threw 37 passes. He ran the ball 7 times. Most of those were not designed runs. So you called in a game that was a one-score game throughout, you called 40-some-odd pass plays? That was odd to me.
Normally, if I'm watching Buffalo, I would have been calling for the backup quarterback. But based on research, I knew Peterman was the backup. And as we could see in those 3 plays, the reason why Tyrod couldn't get benched.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.